to an employee who has been fired from Campbell's because he recorded the vice president of Campbell's Soup stating that he doesn't eat Campbell's Soup. He said only the poor people eat Campbell's Soup.
Tonight, I jump back into the dark side of TikTok, and what I found will absolutely blow your mind. Welcome back, family. As y'all know, I just want to thank all my channel members for support. It says around 90% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you're a part of that 90%, what are you doing? Almost 30 days left in 2025. Let's try to hit 100K before the end of the year. Honestly, just subscribe and unsubscribe in 2026. Let's go.
You heard that thing Quentin Tarantino does, and he said it on a podcast before? It was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about the moments before he became a writer, and he was talking about how there was this guy that he used to work in a DVD store with, and he was one of those guys that party all the time. He would have fun. One day he showed up to work and he was in a bad mood, and you're wondering like, yo, you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? And he goes and tells them, hey bro, think about it real quick. We're like getting really old. If I continue this life, one day you're probably gonna find a different job. You're probably gonna find a different job. Maybe I'll find another job, and we're just gonna find out a group of work friends and just keep doing the same shit. If we live like this, you're just gonna be doing the same shit and nothing's gonna happen. And he said, if you want something to happen, you kind of have to change everything. Quentin Tarantino said in that moment, he went home and he wrote down on a piece of paper all the things that he was fucking up on and stayed up all night trying to figure out how he's gonna fix it. And then he became Quentin Tarantino,
one of the greatest. Holy.
Someone please explain to me why a 14-year-old should be having any plastic surgery. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, recently a 14-year-old passed away after getting a breast augmentation, liposuction, and a BBL, and her mother's boyfriend was a surgeon. On top of that, her biological father didn't even know the truth until the day of her funeral. So this mother, her name's Paloma, she shared custody of her daughter, which her name is also Paloma Nicole, with her ex-husband Carlos. On September 11th, she told Carlos that their daughter tested positive for COVID and that she was really sick, so they were going to be isolating together somewhere in the mountains in Mexico. Then on September 15th, Carlos was told by his ex-wife that Paloma was in critical condition and had a cardiac arrest because of COVID. 4 days later, Paloma was declared brain dead, and the next day, she passed away. So basically everything was happening so fast, and her father felt like something wasn't right. On the day of Paloma's funeral, his entire family noticed that this little girl that they all knew looked very different. So Carlos asks his ex-wife, why does Paloma's upper body and lower body look so different? And she's just very dismissive and denies everything. At the funeral, Carlos asked to be alone with his daughter, and even though his ex-wife refused to, he eventually was able to, and when him and his family examined her body, he saw scars and bruises everywhere, and it was confirmed that she had implants. Now, this story just gets crazier because it turns out that the mother's boyfriend, who's also a plastic surgeon, was the one who performed the surgery on this little girl. The fact that this professional went through with such an intense surgery on a child, and not just one procedure, but 3 at one time. Then the mother ended up confessing and said that this was an early present for Paloma's 15th birthday.
I definitely think a 15-year-old should not be getting any sort of plastic anything. Like, what?
Girl got expelled from school for posting this photo, and you won't believe the reason why.
You're not gonna need a part 2. It was Kayla's 15th birthday party when her mother took this exact photo of her. It was at a restaurant where they were celebrating her birthday. Her mom then shared the picture on Facebook and didn't think anything of it. That is until Kayla received a letter from the principal of her school that was very, very serious. It said that Kayla was permanently expelled from the school, and you won't believe the reason why. This school was a very religious Christian academy. The school didn't like the fact that she was wearing a rainbow sweater sitting in front of a rainbow cake. They assumed she was part of the LGBTQ community. According to the school, they said that is against their beliefs. Follow me to end part 2s.
Hammers and chisels. Hammers and chisels, and slaves and whips and chains. The hardest frickin' rock in the world. Laser precision. Hammer, chisels, slaves, whips, and chains. Not advanced technology. Not hidden history. But sheer brutality and forcefulness got this done. Do you know how difficult it is today to lift this frickin' thing? And about 20% of the statue isn't even there. Most people, because they haven't been to the pyramids, I went to Chichen Itza. I saw the Mayan pyramid up close. I touched it. The blocks are gigantic, and they are not a millimeter out of line with the moon. They aligned it with the moon, so the shadow casts once a year. Do you know this? Chichen Itza. It's insane. They had technology and wisdom that today we do not have. We do not have the technology and wisdom today that they had thousands of years ago. But the mainstream academia, which surely isn't controlled at all, has everyone convinced that we are at the height of science and technology. It is a complete joke. They are laughing at you, and they have duped many of you. Maybe not you if you're watching this video, though. I would love to see this frickin' thing standing up straight. Is this a depiction, by the way, of a titan? A giant? These are questions we should be asking, man. When I went to Chichen Itza, by the way, the tour guide there, who was Mayan, said, dude, the Mayans ascended, and everyone laughed. He said they went up, they went in the sky, or flew away. Everyone laughed. He said, dude, it happened, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
You guys think you'll be able to like handle being a 911 operator?
Fuck no.
Yeah, I think I could.
You don't fold under pressure like that?
I think I'm confident enough to like do that.
Have you guys ever heard about the Ruth Price 911 call? No. It might make you guys feel uncomfortable.
This is Ruth Price of 3877. What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, well, there's some guy been checking the place out. How? Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy. And he comes to my door, and yes, and said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. Mm-hmm. Where is he now, ma'am? I don't have no idea.
Sounds like she's being tortured. For a long time, like nobody really knew if that call was real or fake. A lot of people were like, this lady was and murdered. And then there was a lot of retired 911 operators saying that back in the day, they used to listen to that audio as like the
example.
What to do whenever like something like this happens or whatever.
Scenarios, yeah.
And it turned out, yeah.
I mentioned this in a previous video. I feel like being a 911 operator is definitely one of the most interesting jobs of all time, because you gotta sit there and they could tell you the most crazy stuff and you just gotta be calm as hell. They could literally be screaming bloody murder and you just gotta be there just like, ma'am, we got people on the way.
You don't want to be this kid. He had to learn early that freedom of speech does not come with freedom of consequences.
Not the same species as us. Because they're actual Africans. They're like actual and they don't care.
30 St. Petersburg, Florida? Does that ring a bell? Checkmate. Damn, it sounds like a library in this bitch. What's going on? You sitting there all quiet like a church mouse, dog. God damn. What was that you were saying? See, I bet you didn't wake up this morning thinking that Chip was gonna do that to your ass now, did you? Now, let me ask you another question. Who is Is that you? Don't tell me that's you, big dog. Not like this. You don't look like a to me. Usually are nice people. You look more like a Ryan. You know, Ryans are hateful people. I'm sorry. My bad. I just want a piece.
You're really gonna ruin a 14-year-old's life over on the TV?
No, don't play the victim. Listen to me carefully, you fucking recessive chromosome. Okay, don't play the victim now. You knew exactly what you was doing.
You know, can I apologize?
No, it's too late for that. Maybe like 3 hard R's ago, I would have let you apologize. You know, but it's too little, too late now.
We all know the internet is filled with cowards hiding behind private profiles. So it's pretty damn refreshing to see people get what they deserve. And unfortunately for this young man, the hate that he gave is gonna follow him around for the rest of his life. So go ahead, say what you want, but always remember that you will get what you deserve.
So Donald Trump just did the funniest thing on Fox News. He went on an interview and he said, oh, we're cracking down on what you could say because hate speech shouldn't be allowed, right? And the interviewer goes, well, Charlie Kirk said that hate speech doesn't exist. And Donald Trump responded, and I quote, he might not be saying that now.
Oh, Trump is a menace for saying that. He's acting like he didn't almost get assassinated too.
Why's your things up?
Everybody needs to watch this video because this could have ended very badly. So this Kick streamer is out having fun with her friends when one of her friends points out something unsettling. She asks, "Why are the windshield wipers up?" And for those that don't know, that's usually a sign of traffickers who want to show that there is somebody in this car that they can take, and that when you go out to fix them, somebody takes them. Thankfully, she understood this and drove off. Watch this.
Why's your things up? It's cooler than this. What the is that?
A way for sex trafficking.
That's a way for you to
get out the car and fix that shit and someone stabbed me under the car.
Oh, hell no.
Wait, no. That's weird. That's
If you think that's unsettling, pay attention to this part, because you can see a shadow of what looks like somebody who would have ran up on her should she had gone out to fix those windshield wipers.
Oh, hell no.
Wait.
So now you know. If it doesn't sit right with you, don't get out of your car. Go to a safe space and fix it there. But this could have been a lot worse.
You know, a lot of times these traffickers like to pick on like women and stuff like that, but I feel like if they pick on the wrong person, they might end up getting themselves like just hurt badly. You know.
Morning. Can you believe that we woke up to an employee who has been fired from Campbell's because he recorded the vice president of Campbell's Soup stating that he doesn't eat Campbell's Soup. He said only the poor people eat Campbell's Soup. He said ain't no way he putting that shit in his mouth because they bioengineer meat. He said he's not eating no 3D printed meat.
And what is the coincidence of the next video that pops up on my FYP is this lady who is sorting through her pantry and going through her canned food and getting food ready for the holidays, and she comes across this. Y'all check this out.
Starting to move things around and I noticed this and I was like, what the heck is that? And I kept searching.
It gets worse.
Look at this. One of my cans did this little number. Like, what the hell is that?
What is that?
And it's supposed to have like another year. So that's concerning.
It's
The
Campbell's.
other thing, I was like, what the hell is going on here? It sprung a leak from the side of the can.
What is that?
What the? Oh my gosh, there's another one. It's stuck to the wall.
Wow.
What the hell would cause that?
This whole time we've never really been eating food. I hope you guys know that, man. Like, you guys have no idea what you're eating. And it's always been like that since the very beginning. You really think they really cared about us from the very beginning when it came to food? You really believe that? Yes, I'm not denying that the food has gotten a lot worse, but just look at people back in the day as well too, man. Like, people were still in the same stages that they are now. But yeah, what is that, y'all? What the heck is this? The shift is here, y'all. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Like, follow, share for more videos like this. Let's continue to get it. Peace in.
Dude, to these big companies, we are nothing but literally a number. Literally a number. They do not care about the quality of the food. They just want the most profit with the least amount of money spent.
حالة انك في البر وعندك حالة شوي زين تشوي ولا شيء.
Most of the time when I'm covering videos like this, I have to think a little bit, do some research, but this time I immediately knew how this was done. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this person in the desert focusing a magnifying glass using the sun on this portion of dirt. Spontaneously out of nowhere, there's an immediate pop and a bunch of water starts flowing from the dirt. So a lot of people were wondering what happened. Well, first off, if you didn't know, you can use a magnifying glass to focus sunlight into a very small point. This can get up to temperatures of 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Lots of kids used to play around with magnifying glasses when they were young and burn ants. And while this super hot point can have an impact on things like paper, doing it on the dirt isn't going to do anything. So we're only left with one option. This person filled up a balloon with water, placing it underneath the dirt, and they popped the balloon with the magnifying glass. They also end up popping a balloon with air at the end, and you can even see the broken balloon. To be honest, I'm not too sure what this guy is saying in his original video anyways, so maybe he's not trying to fool people, but if he is, or if you guys don't understand, that's the context.
One night in 1925, a 21-year-old college student named Ted was inside of his dorm room at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, surrounded by his friends. Ted and his friends had gotten their hands on a bottle of gin. Now, Ted and his friends knew this was not allowed. It didn't matter that they were 21 years old. At the time, in the United States in 1925, the country was in the middle of prohibition, which meant no one was allowed to possess or consume alcohol. It was actually illegal. But Ted specifically was willing to take that risk because tonight he wanted to celebrate. Ted was a senior in college and was getting ready to graduate with honors. And also, he had recently been named the editor-in-chief of Dartmouth's humor magazine called Jack-O-Lantern. I mean, he had aspirations of graduating and becoming a professional writer and publisher, and it just felt like everything was falling into place. So Ted took a swig from the bottle and passed it around the circle, and before long, he and his friends were all pretty drunk. At some point, they heard a knock on their door. He opens the door, and it's not friends, it's two police officers. Ted and his friends all got busted for drinking alcohol. However, fortunately for them, the police did not press charges, and so nobody went to jail, and also the school, Dartmouth, decided not to expel Ted or any of his friends. However, they were dealt some pretty severe punishments. Specifically, Dartmouth stripped Ted of all of his academic honors and extracurriculars, which meant he was no longer the editor-in-chief of the Jack-O-Lantern magazine. He couldn't even submit to put anything in writing into that magazine. Ted was heartbroken. Ted was not quite ready to just totally give up on this magazine. He knew this magazine did accept submissions from the public, and so he thought, okay, well, I'm not allowed to submit anything to this magazine, but maybe if I come up with a different name, a pen name, then I can submit my work, they won't know it's me, and maybe I can get something published. And so that's exactly what Ted began doing, and the new editor-in-chief of this magazine had no idea this pen name was actually Ted. They thought it was some new person they had never heard of, and they were so wowed by the work, and they began publishing all of Ted's work, not realizing it was his. And for Ted, oddly enough, this became in some ways more satisfying than when he was writing under his own name. And so he just continued up with this ruse for the rest of the time he was at Dartmouth, and then after he graduated, he just continued to write under this pen name. Throughout the rest of his life, Ted would write and illustrate over 60 books, all under this pen name, a name he came up with basically just because he got caught drinking in the dorm in college. These books would entertain and inspire generations of people, and in fact, he would even win a Pulitzer Prize for his contribution to American literature and education. Ted's full name was Theodore Geisel, but I'm sure you know him much better by his pen name, which is Dr. Seuss.
Insane case of Jamie Komorowski and why her utter lack of remorse coupled with her parents' constant babying of her makes her, in my humble opinion, one of the scarier, more dangerous people that we've talked about recently. Neighbors said it sounded like an explosion. It was just around 10 p.m. so most of the neighbors, they hadn't fallen asleep yet, and even if they had, it was loud enough to wake everyone up. They start rushing outside to investigate, and they see bodies everywhere. 4 bodies were laying on the road about 100 yards away from a golf cart, all dressed to the nines, suits, tuxedo, wedding gown. It was a nightmare scene. Now, according to officials, the golf cart that had Benjamin, the brother, his son Benny, and the newlywed couple in the back was completely mangled. It was on its side, and the 4 passengers had all been launched out of the cart. All of them were bleeding. They were fading in and out of consciousness, all but one. Samantha Miller was lying on the ground on her back, still in her wedding dress, without a pulse. Samantha Miller was pronounced deceased at the scene. She was only 34 years old. Looking at the scene, it wasn't difficult for officers to put 2 and 2 together. The golf cart had been driving down the road when a gray Toyota Camry had smashed into the car, sending every single person in that golf cart flying. The driver of the Toyota Camry came out unscathed. 25-year-old Jamie Komorowski stumbled out of the car and she said, "Something hit me." It's said by neighbors and witnesses that she saw people laying on the ground and she started screaming, "Who? What happened?"
I need to be loud on the freaking road. I said, this could happen to anyone. Like, why me? Like, why me of all people?
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Officials are now issuing a warning as a huge toxic jellyfish just washed up at a tourist hotspot. So basically, this jellyfish is called the lion's mane jellyfish, and it's extremely toxic, and it can grow 5 feet wide and be almost as tall as the Statue of Liberty is. To the people. Researchers have now invented an AI that translates cat meows in real time with 95% accuracy. Okay. So this AI can actually listen to a cat's meows, and it analyzes the sound patterns and instantly translate them into a human language. Australia is now testing out glow-in-the-dark roads. So basically, they're putting this film on top of all the lines on the roads that looks like this during the daytime, and then this is what you get to drive by at nighttime. I think that this is something that literally everybody is going to be a little bit upset with, but Microsoft is now removing the sad face from the error screen, which everybody knows as the blue screen. If you've ever seen this before, you're not going to see it anymore because the next Windows update is going to look like that. Scientists have also now just detected Earth's heartbeat, and it's under Africa. So this is actually just the Earth's mantle that's moving around underneath Africa, but scientists think that in millions of years this is actually going to create a new ocean. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
2016, a girl started up her computer and opened the Tor browser. Her plan was spine-chilling, yet simple. She was going to contract a hitman from the dark web. She was browsing for hours and finally stumbled across a site named Bessa Mafia. They claimed to provide professionally trained hitmen in return for Bitcoin. On Valentine's Day, she sends an anonymous email to them using the username DogDayGod. In it, she discussed her intended victim, Amy Allwine. She told them, "That bitch has torn my family apart by sleeping with my husband, who then left me and is stealing clients from my business." She then sent a picture of Amy and completed the transaction by sending $6,000 in Bitcoin. The only problem was that the person who was looking to contract the hitman, who went by the alias DogDayGod, was actually no girl at all. She was really Stephen Allwine, the husband of the intended victim. Stephen set up this elaborate backstory and posed as a jealous woman in an effort to conceal his identity, and for a while, it worked perfectly. However, his plan would fall apart a few months later when an FBI agent knocked on their front door. He sat the couple down and stated that someone was trying to kill Amy. Apparently, an anonymous source on the dark web sent all of the Bessa Mafia emails to the FBI. However, due to Stephen's elaborate planning, he wasn't considered a suspect at this time, since the FBI believed it was actually a woman who attempted the hiring. So after this botched attempt at murdering his wife, Stephen could have quit and simply divorced her. However, he decided to take an alternate route. Roughly 10 months after Stephen emailed Bessa Mafia, he called 911. He told them that his wife had shot herself and he needed help right away. But when the police arrived, they noticed several red flags. For example, Amy was holding the weapon in her left hand, even though she was right-handed. She also had no powder burns on her hands or head. And there were indications that the scene had been cleaned and repositioned before their arrival. In the end, physical and digital evidence proved that Stephen was behind everything, and he was convicted of first-degree murder.
In the middle of this bed in, and look at this. Look at this female bed. She's just sleeping. She's under her pile of leaves. Here's the rest of her damn
Get out of that lady's house. White people will do, on behalf of my people, white people will do absolutely anything and claim it's their right. It's my right, my activity. How have we not died off? If this is what our instincts are doing for us. Get out of her house.
I'm dead. I had no idea why that dude felt the need to go inside a bear den. A bear den? A beer den? A bear den. A bear den. Like, why are you inside of a bear den?
It's much worse than you can even imagine. Her name is Maria Kovalchik, and they found her teeth in her bag. They said she fell from a construction site. How can you fall from a construction site in such a way that you break your spine, you break your arm, you break your leg, you bang your head so hard you have amnesia, you knock out all your teeth, yet you wake up in time to take your teeth from the ground, put it in your bag, get some expensive chocolate, the type they have at parties, put that in your mouth, and then boom, you become unconscious again. What actually happened is this girl who does that website thing where you pay money and she'll do things for you while you watch, she went to a party in Dubai, and you know what happened next. They give her some money, but they do some horrible things to her. Another person at the same party who managed to escape said she saw two men carrying something big in a rolled up carpet. The next thing we know, this girl goes missing for 10 days. She can barely sit up in hospital now. She can barely speak, but she doesn't remember her friends. Her mom's Anna. Who are you? Her friends. Who are you? Teeth missing. Be careful how you're chasing that soft lifestyle. Those men that give you money, they don't just want to see your goodies. They want to humiliate you. Who knows what else they want to do to you.
That's the President of the United States dead ass asleep on camera in the Oval Office during a press briefing because he most likely has Alzheimer's and or dementia that is causing his brain to atrophy. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience in home health care treating geriatric patients just like Sleepy Guy. Over time, dementia will reduce your radius of self-awareness around your physical body to just around your head and face. Now, fatigue can simply be a part of aging, but dementia is a different animal. Over time, you lose the ability to be aroused or focus your attention on things that require your direct attention, like a damn press briefing in your office. Of course, the irony of all ironies, the executive responsible for making Ozempic faints in the middle of a press briefing. And here we have the commander-in-chief looking like he has no connection to this situation at all. And the truth is, he really doesn't. Cognitively speaking, this is exactly the reaction you would expect from somebody who has dementia. They've been giving him MRIs and having him take the MoCA test, not to discover if he has dementia or Alzheimer's, but to track the progression of it. As Alzheimer's progresses, it creates more amyloid plaque on the brain tissue and neurofibrillary tangles, basically altering the physical structure of the brain and poking holes in all of the automatic and normal behavior that you've had programmed into your brain for decades. And Caroline Leavitt said that the president's focus will be the ballroom going forward. That was them handing a dementia patient a coloring book to keep them occupied. Once again, he stayed behind the desk the entire time to hide his swollen feet and ankles, which are most likely from congestive heart failure and or chronic kidney disease. Oh, also RFK got out of there as soon as he could because he knows he's not a doctor. Isn't that funny, y'all? We have a lawyer who's a piece of shit leading HHS, not a doctor, a shitty lawyer. Make it make sense. With all of these signs of illness that the president has going on, I'd really say he's got 4 to 6 months left in the land of the living. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I mean, it'd be kind of ironic how Trump used to call Joe Biden Sleepy Joe, or, you know what I'm saying, not necessarily make fun of his dementia, but like kind of comment a lot on his dementia, and then he would end up sleeping and getting dementia. That'd be highly ironic.
What's the address of your emergency?
Somebody just got on a Chubby's.
Madison's life changed forever in a way she never could have truly expected. Just as she reached her car in the parking lot, she heard her mom scream in a way that could only mean one thing. Madison turned around to see that Spencer was running towards her faster than she had ever seen him run, and before she had a chance to get away, he grabbed her and proceeded to 17 times. During the attack, she begged for him to stop, but her screams just got quieter and quieter until she wasn't able to scream any longer. And in the midst of it, her spinal cord was severed, which left her unable to move or fight back. And as scary as it is to say, the truth is, Madison would have died that day if it weren't for the bravery of two people. First of all, Jackie, as fast as she could, ran over there and was on top of Spencer, trying to pry him off of her. And just like Madison, she was also struck her in her forehead, her arm, her leg, her hand. Her hand was really, really severe. But even then, nothing was going to stop her from doing everything she could to protect her daughter. And then in another act of bravery that can only truly be described as fate, a 22-year-old man named Kennedy Armstrong had just exited his truck on his way to Mr. Chubby's with a friend when he heard their screams. And without thinking twice about it, he sprinted as hard as he could, tackled Spencer to the ground, and he was able to free both Madison and Jackie from his wrath. And the friend he was with can also be seen sprinting toward the attack in an effort to help. And during his efforts to save them, Kennedy also suffered stab wounds to his arm and his hand, but finally the attack was over. And during this, several witnesses proceeded to call 911 just as Spencer had turned the knife on him, attempting, unsuccessfully,
Stories like that make me just like want to teleport back into time and just give them like a
But that wasn't the only dangerous thing found at Waterworld. There was the Tarzan swing, which would land you in a pool fed by a spring, which meant that the water was around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It was so cold it could cause hypothermic shock, and somebody actually died of cardiac arrest after landing in the pool. The Roaring Rapids was a raft ride designed to mimic a whitewater rafting experience on a river. It included this ominous black tunnel where the lining on the inside would frequently tear loose, and there would be a pileup of human bodies until the staff could finally turn off the water. However, the most deadly attraction was the tidal wave pool, which was grimly nicknamed the Grave Pool. It was 100 feet wide, 250 feet long, and could easily fit up to 1,000 people. The waves, which were over 3 feet high, were generated by an underwater machine and would last around 20 minutes. There was often a densely packed layer of people in floating rings, which means that if someone got swept underneath, they could get trapped under the water. There were 12 lifeguards on duty, and they would have to rescue up to 30 people during a busy weekend. 3 people died in the tidal wave pool between 1982 and 1987. Action Park wasn't shut down by regulators, it actually just went bankrupt. By the early 1990s, over 2,400 lawsuits had been filed. But it turns out that the park had no real insurance. The owner just created a fake insurance company. By 1996, the most dangerous water park in the United States had finally drowned in its own chaos. However, it was still the inspiration for every water park that we have today. 8 out of 10 spookies.
How do you know when a celebrity actually needs help? Even if they are saying things, how would you know if it's real? That has been the case with Yu Menglong's last live streams. In his own live streams, fans have found some very strange things. In one live stream, Yu Menglong is wearing what appears to be a blue suit. He looks like he's working, and it just looks like he's reading comments from his fans during the live stream. He kind of has his hand covering his mouth as he's reading the comments, and then eventually he says, "Save me."
也不是 PK， 也不是有2个对话的那个。
Netizens have ripped this live stream apart, saying, is this a moment where he's reaching out for help because it doesn't make any sense? Why would he say save me like that? In another live stream, he voices out the words, help me, a lot louder this time. His fans hear it, but they do nothing. Then there is another moment that people have dissected. So I know in America, we have the DV violence symbol for help. So if you are in a car and a police officer drives up, or if you're in an airport and you're talking to a TSA gate agent, you have your open palm, all 5 fingers up like a high five. You tuck in your thumb and then you close your fist around your thumb. He has done that motion multiple times in his live streams. So he'll have 5 out and then he'll kind of tuck his thumb in, covering his mouth, and then he'll tuck it all the way in and do a fist and cover his mouth. He does it very naturally. So some people are wondering, is this just a natural motion he does?
And then in Chinese, I think some people think it's 540, which in Chinese is 我540, sounds very similar to 我死了, like I'm dead. So it's like another signal that people are picking up.
There's also another poem that started going around. It seems like he was writing a poem about a rainy day and how he's learning some magic tricks. It's the most random poem. Even if I were to give you the translation for it, because of the way that the sentence structure in English and Chinese are so vastly different, it wouldn't make sense. But people were saying if you take the first character of every single line of this poem, it says, today they want me to die. And that has been circulating. So these are all the reasons that people think that he has been held captive for months, which begs the question, who's keeping him captive? Why are they keeping him captive?
With celebrities in situations like that, it's always hard to tell because, you know what I'm saying, for example, he could have just been naturally doing that. But my first thought is like, if he is being held captive, like let's say he is, why would they give him access to post videos online? You know what I'm saying? Because he could really just say anything or do anything and people could help him. Maybe he's just doing that for attention, but it's really hard to tell, mostly when he has full access to the internet and can post whatever. You know what I'm saying? So unless he publicly says something or he does like a blatant sign like, yo, I'm dying, I don't think there's anything that we could possibly do.
Thank you all for watching this here video.